Hey, thanks for joining us for this Uncommon City sermon. We're a community in St. Pete, Florida, learning to walk in the good, beautiful, and true way of Jesus. If you're watching or listening and want to learn more, visit uncommon.city. We'd love to meet you. I was driving across town to a friend's place with my daughter, Portland, in the back, a bag of snacks rolling around the floor, and the map app chirping in that patient voice, you know it, that always sounds slightly disappointed in you. It kept rerouting, and I knew a better shortcut, or so I told myself, so I swiped the new directions away. Anybody else here, like you put in the address into maps, but for some reason, like you ignore it? Anybody else? Okay, okay, cool. Yeah, exactly. A mile later, I was wedged behind road work, and the minutes were slipping, and Portland humming the same four bars from a cartoon theme on repeat and asking if we were almost there. My confidence at that time had thinned into confusion, and I did not need another opinion. The truth is, I needed a way that actually worked. And that little car feels a lot like our moment right now, right? We live surrounded by ways, right? Not ways like the app, but you get it. But ways to get healthy, to get promoted, get centered, get noticed, get ahead. Anybody? Like you guys jump in? Okay. We try one and then we try another. We collect advice, install new habits, stack routines, upgrade our phones. That's me. And still have that low grade ache that something true is missing. Let me just bring you into my world right now. I have updated my phone to the newest iOS, and I still feel like I am all sorts of like not I'm just unorganized. And so every evening in my head, I think, I need to just take some time, go through the settings, and set up my phone the way I need it to go. And if I do that, then my whole life is gonna be way better. And so for the last few nights, like I literally have been doing that. Life's still lifing. It's still the same, you know? We want, honestly, where am I at? Yeah. We don't, you know this way better than I do, and we've talked about this a lot at Uncommon City. We don't want just information. We want orientation. We want a new way of doing it. We want a way that can carry the weight of real life in joy and in grief on ordinary Tuesdays and in the midnight hours when fear wakes us up. Into a world like this, John opens his gospel not with advice, but with an announcement. He says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Let's read that together. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Before anyone reaches for God, God has already reached for us. Before we assemble a lifestyle, the life himself has come near to us. Let's read this. All things were made through him, right? All things were made through him. Let's read it. And without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John doesn't hand us a technique. He announces a person who is older than our questions, who is stronger than our failures, who is closer than our very breath. Which means this thing that we're trying to do here at Uncommon City, church, is not just pretend. It's not a weekly pep talk. Hopefully, it's not a weekly pep talk with inspirational music. Because the truth is, if the one who spoke galaxies awake has moved into our neighborhood, we are not dabbling in spirituality, right? We're actually standing near a holy fire that can remake us. That's the truth. Annie Dillard, who's one of my favorite writers, once wrote that in church, we should all be wearing crash helmets because we so casually invoke a power that can unmake and remake a life. She wasn't trying to scare us, she was trying to awake us to the reality of who God is. So here's the tension that I want to name and respect. We long for a way that works, a way that is true and beautiful and durable for sure. And John claims that the true way is not a map that we master, but a person who has mastered us and then moves us in love. And if that's real, it cuts through our hurry. It cuts through our disembodiment. It cuts through our loneliness. If it's real, it changes the stakes of an ordinary Sunday and the shape of an ordinary week. If it's real. So I want you to hold that ache with me. And I want you to feel your own version of that car, rerouting and rerouting and rerouting while you insist that you know better. And I want you to hear John again, not as a slogan, but as an announcement. He's saying, in the beginning was the Word. The way has a face and a voice. The way has hands that touch and tears that fall. The way knows your route and your road work. Again, these are things that I write. I'm like, man, they're going to really love that line. And nothing. Yeah. The helmet was good?
Yeah, it's the second. Brian told me I need to wear a helmet. This is telling me I need to wear a helmet. What's with all the helmet talk?
The Lord is speaking. The Lord is speaking.
Y'all
And
should sign up for Sabbath tables.
yeah, a very deep conversation happened at Sabbath tables this week. So, yeah. So I'll say it again because I want you to catch it. He knows your route and your road work. Like he knows where he's taking you and he knows what it's going to take you there. The way wants you, not your performance at all. So let us walk into the heart of that together. John's first claim is that the way, Jesus, precedes us. He says, in the beginning was the Word. And we've spoken about this in this series, and we've spoken about it, I think, back in the prayer practice. The Greek word behind word is logos. Everyone say logos. John is not importing in sort of abstract philosophy. He's echoing Genesis. Genesis, the first book in the Bible. The God who speaks light from darkness and being from nothing. That is the Logos. The Logos is with God and is God. And if you try to figure all that out, drink some water. You know? The Logos is with God and is God, which means this: Jesus is not merely a teacher of the way, but the source of life itself. He's not just the teacher, he is the source. All things were made through him, John tells us. In him was life. This is really important to catch because this matters because many of us have quietly believed that life with God is mostly on us. Anybody? Try harder, patch together enough spiritual tricks, hide the parts that do not heal fast enough, then maybe we will be the kind of person that God might help. Maybe. Willard hands us a sentence that clears that fog. He says, grace is not opposed to effort. It is opposed to earning. You've heard us use that quote before. Let's say that together. Grace is not opposed to effort. It is opposed to earning. Effort is the humble way love trains our muscles. Earning is the proud way fear tries to buy what only grace can give. Thank you. Effort is the humble way love trains our muscles. Earning is the proud way fear tries to buy what only grace can give. John begins with the Word because he will not let us pretend that we have built this way. We did not build our breath. We did not build the sunrise. We did not build mercy. We receive it. We participate. We are not the source. I learned this in a hallway that I didn't want to be in. Years ago, after news that did not go the way I prayed, I stood next to a hot vending machine at midnight or near midnight. I don't know why I said at midnight, but near midnight with my hands in my pockets and the heavy air that you get in hospitals when the day is out of words. I had no technique, no clever prayer. All I could do was whisper the name that John keeps placing at the center, Jesus. Anybody been in that moment? There's nothing else, and all you can say is Jesus. It's not a trick, but saying the name Jesus is not a trick, but you're saying it as trust. John says, in him, Jesus, was life. Not my ability to feel spiritual, not in the right string of phrases, but in him. And there, bizarrely, quietly, without fireworks, I found that I was not alone. The way met me in a hallway with buzzing fluorescent lights and a blinking soda machine. The way did not critique my posture at all. He kept company with me. You been in that moment? Sitting in the mud.
Yeah.
And this is exactly where John goes next. He says, and the word became flesh and dwelt among us. God didn't shout comfort from the clouds. He took on skin and walked a local road. He walked down Central. Can you imagine? And the verb behind dwelt reaches back to the tabernacle in the wilderness, the tent of meeting, the place where presence was promised. John says that the promise pitched a tent in our neighborhood, that we have seen his glory not as a spectacle, but as the radiance of a human life full of God. He says, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. Grace that welcomes and heals, truth that names reality and sets the captives free. And the truth is, if you're anything like me, we need that kind of withness. Everybody say withness. Because our world trains us to live pixel first and body last. Thank you. Again. Say it again, okay. And it's not because I need the thing, it's just, okay. All right. We need that kind of witness because our world trains us to live pixel first and body last. We scroll near and live far. We scroll near and live far. We multitask conversations. We eat standing up over the sink, right? Okay.
Literally.
Literally. I didn't realize that.
Jesus is different. He eats at the tables. He walks the dusty roads. He touches the lepers. He weeps at a tomb. Brother Lawrence, a quiet kitchen monk, learned to live like that, saying that we should establish ourselves in a sense of God's presence by continually conversing with him. I want to slow down just at this quote. Number one, because I love Brother Lawrence. If you ever just want to deep dive into what we call the presence, his book, The Practice of the Presence of God, it's like I don't know, has anyone read it? It's like a little thin, it's very thin, very small, and it's just sort of his reflections as he's serving in this kitchen, washing dishes and things. Yeah, at the monastery. He says this: we should establish ourselves in a sense of God's presence by continually conversing with him. What does that mean? Like just two or three of you. Like what would that look like?
It's just conversating throughout the day. Like,
Okay, yeah.
as you're going through
Yeah,
mundane tasks,
right.
important tasks.
Yeah,
And I think we all do it as a society, but maybe in a small different way.
sure.
Something bad happens.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
something good
Okay.
happens,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
And continue those conversations
Yeah.
throughout those moments.
Yeah. Well said, Matt. Anyone else want to take a stab at it? By continually conversing. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Those aren't through that loud because other people might be like,
Yeah, sure. Now, Brother Lawrence, he didn't mean that you pretend to be holy. He meant talk to God while you wash the pans, while you wash the dishes. Because God in Christ first came to stand beside you at the sink. Or I should have said it better. God, through Christ, in this moment, came to stand next to you at the kitchen sink, or insert thing here. A friend of mine told me about the morning their baby finally came home after a long week in the NICU. The house was a construction zone of bottles and blankets. They had planned to be transcendent, to play symphonies and pray sonnets, be super holy with the new baby. But the baby had other ideas. There was spit up, there was laundry, there were the 1,000 interruptions that make a day feel like a game of whack-a-mole. And somewhere in that chaos, they sat at their little table and read the line together, barely awake. The line goes like this: "And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us." The Word, Logos, Jesus, God became flesh and dwelt among us. We will read that and we will, oh, that's so good, and move on to the next thing and don't realize the beauty and the cosmic gravity of that line. That God Himself, who has existed, created, has built time, in time, and out of time, became flesh and sat in the front passenger seat of your car while you played the new Taylor Swift album and said, "Is this it?" I'm just playing. I don't know. I haven't listened to the new one. I hear it's not great. Okay. Right. But somewhere in the chaos, they sat at their little table and they read that line, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. They looked at each other and laughed, a tired laugh. You know the one. If God came this close, then God is not allergic to our ordinary. He's not offended by our mess. He meets us at the Formica tables and on half-slept nights. Rich Viotis says this, says our moment, this current moment that we live, needs the treasures of monastic imagination. And I know sometimes we get afraid of the word monastic, but you shouldn't be. And we'll have a conference about that later. But we should have the treasures of monastic imagination, meaning a slower way of being present to God and people. To slow our lives down. John is saying that treasure began when God first became present to us. That the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. That we can, that part of our job, or maybe the most important thing that we can do, is to slow to the presence of this God who has put on flesh and has come near. And John is careful with language, as am I. He says, Jesus arrives full of grace and truth. And then he adds this, for from his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. Everyone say, grace upon grace. And the echo here is Exodus, when Moses asked to see God's glory and heard God name himself as abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. In Jesus, that covenant heartbeat has a face, which is why John can make his next claim with a straight spine and a soft voice. He says this, but to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Not by bloodline, not by a superior willpower, but by God's own initiative. Born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. The true way does not hand you a badge and send you out to earn your keep. He hands you a new birth certificate. Adoption, not audition. Family, not fraternity points. Eugene Peterson called discipleship a long obedience in the same direction, a steady walk of resemblance learned over the years. And that long obedience is not a grind to impress God. It is the gate of children learning the family walk. It's you reorienting your mind away from what you perhaps have grown up in. That sort of sort of culture, and reorienting yourself to the walk of Jesus, to the family of God. That is not just an invitation, but that is John saying that you have been adopted into this family. I heard a story once about a guy who came to a midweek dinner. First time he stepped in, he stood by the door like a person at an art gallery who was not sure that they belonged. I've had those moments. He'd grown up around religion, but not around grace, and he was certain everyone else had the manual. They pulled up a chair and passed him the salad, no interviews, no tests, and over months, the strangest thing started to happen. He stopped hovering at the doorway. He started actually setting the table. He babysat for a single mom in a group so she could breathe for 2 hours on a Tuesday night. And one evening, they were reading John, and he looked down at the page and said almost to himself, "From his fullness we have all received grace upon grace." Then he shook his head and laughed the way you laugh when something too good to be true has been true long enough to trust. He said, "Wait a minute, I guess I'm family now." And he was, not because he finally performed well, not because he had done all the things, but because he received the one who had been receiving him all along. Now, John wraps this section with a sentence that could carry your whole entire life. He says, "No one has ever seen God. The only God who is at the Father's side, he has made him known." And the verb behind "made him known" is where we get our word exegesis, which is a whole other thing that I won't get into. Basically the study of the text. But Jesus is exegeting his Father. If you want to know what God is like, look at Jesus. Look at how he treats the ashamed, the anxious, the self-assured, the stubborn. Look at how he handles power and money and enemies. Look at how he handles interruptions. He's saying, if you want to know the Father, just look at me. Like, that's the point. If you want to know the person of God, if you want to know the character of God, Jesus is that exact. Jesus is the answer. He's saying, just look at me. Saint Teresa of Avila, we've talked about her many times. A lot of you liked her quote back in the prayer practice. When it comes to prayer, we ought to start again and again and again. So, okay, Saint Teresa, we love her. She simplifies it. She says, prayer is nothing else than an intimate sharing between friends. Prayer is nothing else than an intimate sharing between friends. In fact, Ignatius gives us a North Star. He said, we were made to praise, reverence, and serve God, and to evaluate everything else by whether it helps us toward that end. We were made to praise, reverence, and serve God. And we ought to evaluate everything else by whether it helps us toward that end. changes the way you move. The way of Jesus is not a theory to admire at a distance. It is a friendship to enter and a family to join. So I want to just gather all of these threads, all of these little notes that I've been sort of sharing with you tonight, and just bring it back to the reality. We ache for something that works. We ache for a way that works. And John is saying, in John 1, he's saying that the way is a person. The Word spoke the world and then stepped into it. He did not stay above our ache, he entered it. He took on our flesh and then took up our sin. He walked our road all the way to the cross, died to the death our rebellion keeps rehearsing, by the way, rose to new life, and now offers his life to us. This is not advice, it's good news. From this, John says, from his fullness, we have all received grace upon grace. The true way is not a path that you master. The true way is the person who has come for you. We're pursuers of the good and the beautiful and the true way. Which means there are two honest responses in a room like this. For some of us, it is time to receive him, maybe for the first time. John says, to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. And receiving is not pretending you have no questions. It is trusting a person enough to hand him your questions. Thanks, Simone. Yeah, exactly. Believing in his name is entrusting your life to his character and authority. Letting his yes over you be louder than your shame or your fear. Believing in his name is entrusting your entire life to his character and his authority. That I'm not going to move until you say move. I'm not going to do that thing because you told me already not to do that thing. I've got some questions about it. I've got some feelings about it. I don't even know how strong I'm going to be with that thing. But you said it. So I'm going to entrust my life. I'm going to entrust my decision making. I'm going to entrust my heart. I'm going to entrust my will, my very breath, to your character and to your authority. For the mystics in the room, those of us who are super creatives and all the things in our hearts, we'll even pray things like, may my body not even breathe unless you tell it to breathe. Believing in his name is entrusting your life to his character and authority, letting his yes over you be louder than your shame and your fear. That he says that you matter, you still have life, you still have purpose, and I love you. Even though you may not be feeling those things, I still love you. It's saying, okay, God, but I still feel this way, man. I still feel shame. I still feel like I've made tons of mistakes that shouldn't even ever be forgiven. And he says, yeah, and I do. That's that grace. Grace upon grace. He says, I get it. I know that you're afraid. I know that it's scary to just walk out, to do the thing that I've called you to do, or to not do the thing that I've told you not to do. I know that it's scary. And I also say, I am with you always. For others of us, the response is a fresh yes. I think sometimes we get it twisted in church culture. That we start to move to our theological lines or our denominational boundaries, and we start saying, well, if I pray the prayer again, that makes me Baptist, because Baptists say, no. That's might go over the heads of some of you. Sometimes a fresh yes is like the thing that you need to do now. Sometimes God is really just saying, will you accept me into your heart again? Like, will you do it again? Will you say yes again? He keeps, yes. That's not a denominational thing. That's not a sort of religious boundary. That's the God of the universe knocking at the heart of your door and saying, hello. Maybe you've been on the road long enough to collect some spiritual scar tissue. Anybody? Hello, that's me. This thing has been rough. I recently told God, like, this ain't it, bruh. This ain't it, really? And if you're anything like me, it's frustrating because you're literally looking at everyone else who's like enjoying life, and you're like, God, I'm just trying to follow you, Lord, and cars on E. Can I get $5? Like something, Lord. These tariffs, $1. Come on now. I was hoping they didn't hear that. Like some scar tissue. That church has been painful, costly. Maybe the last season was more slog than song. That if you're anything like me, sometimes when you have had to sing Good, Good Father, you're standing there like, I don't know about that. And maybe you've still sung it. I want you to hear Dallas Willard again, not as a guilt trip, but as a gift. Grace is not opposed to effort. It is opposed to earning it. And so for those of us who are following him, that fresh yes, right? It means to lay down the earning. Lay it down. Pick up the effort that looks like trust. It says, I don't know why I'm not at the beach on one of the most beautiful days of the year. But I know that there's something waiting for me in the Word. There's something waiting for me in worship and community. There's something waiting for me at Uncommon City. There's something waiting for me when I show up. And so I'm just going to trust that you will have more days like today. Because I have taken the time to say, I'll give it to you, and would you fill it by your Spirit? Returning to that friendship that St. Teresa names, return to that friendship that St. Teresa names, return to the presence that Brother Lawrence practiced while washing the pots, return to the long obedience that Eugene Peterson describes, not as a treadmill, but as a family walk with the Father who runs to meet you. Return to that. Return to the presence. Return to the moment where you're standing there washing dishes and you're like, if I have to wash another Fort God and I need to go to sleep because I got to wake up early in the morning, return to just speaking to him in a very real way. Return to practicing the presence of Jesus. Return and say yes. I'm going to pray in a moment, but first I want to finish the story from the car. A few weeks after that first detour, I was on the same road at the same time, and the app chirped the same reroute, and I felt the same reflex to sway it away, but I'd learned my lesson. I let a better guide lead. The map took me down a street I actually never used, past a bakery I didn't know existed, around the construction, and into a quiet block where we found parking right in front. And we stepped out of the car, and Portland was singing instead of sighing. If you know her, that, okay. It was not my brilliance, it was trust. And following Jesus is a lot like that. It's the letting go and letting him lead it, right? What's that one song that Jesus take the wheel? You know what I mean? I'm just saying. It's not saying like you need perfect execution. It's not a record of never missing a turn. But what we're saying is it is a life that keeps saying yes to the one who knows the terrain and loves you. He knows the mountains, he knows the hills, he knows the valleys, he knows where the rivers are and the creeks. He knows, and he's wanting to lead you. If you want to receive him today or to return with a fresh yes, I want to give you some simple words that you can make your own. And you can pray this quietly where you are. You can close your eyes, you can stand, you can hold your hands out. It's between you and God. And these are the words. Jesus, you are the Word. In you is life. Thank you for moving toward us. I receive you as Lord and Savior. Forgive my sin. Make me your child. Place me in your family. Teach me your way. Fill me with your Spirit. Fill me with your Spirit, God. I say yes to following you. I say yes to following you today and every day. Would you be the Lord of my life? I give you everything back. That as Lord, you have authority over. I say yes to you, God. I say yes to you, God. We say yes to you, God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.